Men who have been proposed to by their girlfriends. How did they do it? And how did you feel about it? I asked my husband to marry me. He is the shy, quiet type, and after 4 years of living together, he caught me in a slightly embarrassing moment. His reaction was perfect. I decided right then I wasn't letting him slip away, so I asked him to marry me. He said sure, not yes, just a simple sure. We have been married 19 years in April. He just walked past me. He works from home, so I asked him how he felt about it. He said, never say no to a naked woman, ever. No regrets. There is a lesson in there somewhere. I am sure of it. Never say no to a naked woman, ever. No regrets. That was my takeaway at least. I proposed to my husband. He loves practical jokes, so I talked to his work buddies. They called him pretending that his current project was on fire. He is an engineer. He drove in and was carefully disassembling his project, looking for the fire when he found the titanium ring. It was attached with wiring to a piece of sheet metal, which was engraved with "Marry Me." He was incredibly confused, looked at all his co-workers very suspiciously until I popped out. He laughed his butt off and said yes. I don't know why people do serious romantic proposals. Seems like too much pressure. Your story is my favorite so far. I would love if I was proposed to through situation like that. It would be such a swing of emotions. From worried about my project to super confused to incredibly happy. Seems like an awfully exciting day. She wrote, will you marry me in refrigerator magnets, and then continued to ask me to get things from the kitchen and fridge all day. She forgot how oblivious I am and got more upset as the day went on, and I didn't act differently. That night in bed she starts crying. I'm super confused and she looks at me and she says, look at the freaking fridge, you idiot. I said yes, but we broke off the engagement a few months before the wedding date. Good thing, cause we both seem much happier now after 5 years apart. Look at the freaking fridge, you idiot. Most romantic proposal ever. I proposed to my husband. I'd been planning it for months. There's a tradition in Japan, I don't know how old it is, that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes, you get to make a wish, and you get good luck. People hand them out at weddings. I folded 1,000 cranes, and then, while he was sleeping, hung them from the ceiling leading from the bedroom, making a forest of the crane. At the end, I put a sign with an explanation for why there were cranes, and asked him to marry me. He said yes. I don't believe he found it emasculating that I proposed. If anything, he seemed really happy about it, considering I did a better job than he would have. He tells everyone about it. Then again, we don't tend to fit into standard gender roles very well. This is really beautiful. He had just gotten off a miserable 12-hour shift and came home at 2 in the morning. I had candles lit, dinner made, and had created a box that held all the blessings from everyone in his family. I also got him the one ring from LOTR. He was thrilled and had no idea it was coming. A girl on my FB posted a video of her proposing to her boyfriend on Christmas last year. The video has since been taken down, but it was cringe-worthy. Her friends were all there and he was completely on the spot. You could tell he wanted nothing to do with it, as he just sat there trying to sink into his chair and disappear while all her friends looked on. She kept pleading all the reasons to him why he should marry her while she was on one knee in front of him. He just sat there in silence until the video ended. I couldn't have felt worse for this guy. My girlfriend and I have been together for 5 years, practically lived together since day one, and have a 3-year-old. Before our relationship, she was proposed to several times, so I've told her that if we're going to get married, she'll have to be the one who proposes. Sound logic, right? This is probably the most logical one I've heard so far. My wife actually proposed to me. I think she just decided it was right before I did, and she knew that she wanted to be with me for the rest of our lives. So instead of sticking to the norm, she asked me to marry her. As a man, I actually liked it. We are expected to take charge and do everything, and, to me, this was a nice exception to the rule. Can't be the end with the big pants all the time. It's good for someone else to wear them and make the hard decisions. We were watching TV and just looked over at me and said, why don't we get married? We had been dating for about 3 years and said sure. When she said that and I agreed, I didn't know she had been screwing another guy semi-regularly for about 3 months or so. It didn't work out for us. but she ended up marrying him. So sorry, how horrible, at least she's gone. My boyfriend said he'd marry me as soon as I asked, so I guess I'll have to do it. Neither of us are into sappy crap and he doesn't think proposing marriage, which is not about winning or his ego, should be done by the dude necessarily. He is ready, I'm not quite there, so it's on me. His sense of masculinity doesn't come from gender roles and he is a pretty masculine dude. Sounds like he is a very reasonable guy, well worth considering for a potential life mate. No need to rush things though. My friend's wife proposed to him after nearly a decade of dating. Her line, "Hey dude, let's tie our dongs together." No crap. They are both hilarious. I doubt anyone will ever top that, male or female. Throwaway because my boyfriend is a Redditor. I've been toying with the idea of proposing for a while now, but I'm really getting ready to kick it into high gear and I'm super nervous. We've been together for over 10 years, living together for 8. We always say things like when we get married and all that sort of stuff, so I know he's not opposed, but I just don't like this waiting for him to decide thing. I've got a super cool awesome ring picked out, and I just need to order it and we're planning a big vacation in a few months. So I'm thinking that I'll do it then, or I'll chicken out. I don't know. Do I have to ask his mom's permission? This whole thing freaks me out. This girl once told me she wanted to marry me within about a week of seeing her. Totally made me uncomfortable. She brought it up several times in the months that followed, and I kept saying no. After 3 years, I gave in and married her. She proposed to me while we were on vacation. 7-day road trip through the Canadian Rockies. Having a nice dinner in Banff, she had the waitress offer me dessert and brought a champagne glass with a ring in it. It was really great. However, I was, and sorta still am 7 years later, embarrassed to tell people it was she who proposed and not me. I proposed last night to my fiance. In all fairness, he had already proposed to me in December but had asked if he could also have an engagement ring. I didn't want to just hand him a ring, so I cut individual construction paper hearts and made garland out of it, tied the ring to the garland with song lyrics to our favorite songs written on the hearts. I also had paper hearts leading from the front steps through the front door to the 7 strands of homemade heart garland in the living room. He loved it. We both got misty-eyed and it was a sappy night. OBTW, he said yes. I kind of proposed to my boyfriend, meaning that while I was a little tipsy and in a giddy mood I asked him if he wanted to marry me. It was a little abrupt, pretty dang early in our relationship. 4 months, I think, and not at all thought out, but I did mean it. He told me that yes, he did want to marry me, but he also wanted to get a chance to propose. After making him swear it wasn't just because he is the guy, I agreed that we would wait and get engaged when he proposed. It was probably also a good idea because we did need more time to make sure it was really what we wanted. About a year later he proposed and it was great. I didn't regret asking early, and I didn't regret waiting for him to ask me formally. Next month we celebrate our 4-year wedding anniversary. People really do need more time than that though. A lot of relationships that don't work out still last longer than that. So, on a related topic, as a gay guy in a committed relationship, I don't know how I'll react when my guy asks me to marry him. I'm not a self-loathing gay, and I'm sure we'll marry soon actually. Even though I'm 100% behind and cheering for marriage equality, I will definitely experience major cognitive dissonance when he pops the question. My biggest concern is that my reaction will underwhelm him. Get him an engagement ring. Carry it around with you. When he proposes, laugh it up, say yes, produce his ring and tell him he beat you to it by like 6 minutes. I haven't seen any comments that mirrored my own views, so I was finally inspired to make an account. I'll start out by saying that I would have been devastated if my girlfriend proposed to me. We had talked about marriage and it was definitely going in that direction. I had spent a long time thinking about how I wanted to propose and it was something that I had been looking forward to getting to do for a long time. From what I've heard, a lot of women have spent a large part of their lives planning and envisioning what their wedding will be like. Imagine if your future husband told you that he wanted to plan the whole thing instead. I spent a long time thinking about and planning how I wanted to propose to the woman of my dreams. I'll defer to her on any of the wedding issues that she feels strongly about, but let me have my moment. Damn it. If she had proposed instead of me, I would have still said yes, but I would always regret that I didn't get to have the proposal I had been waiting so long to carry out. I proposed to him this past September. I sent him on a scavenger hunt around Toronto. I gave him a stack of envelopes each with an address printed on the front. When we got to each location, he would open the envelope and inside was a picture from his favorite graphic novel series, Scott Pilgrim. The picture corresponded with the location we were currently at. Scott Pilgrim takes place around Toronto. Our final stop was in front of Casa Loma. We sat down and I handed him the final envelope. Inside was a picture I drew of him in the style of Scott Pilgrim that read, "Dylan earned a fiancé," which alludes to a common saying in the SP novels. Inside the ring box was 2 rings and a picture of Scott and Ramona that said, "Level up." Afterwards, we met up with a group of close friends to celebrate our engagement, which was also a surprise. Dylan and I had been discussing marriage for quite some time before I proposed. I had read a story about a woman proposing to her boyfriend and I asked Dylan how he felt about that. He said that he loved that idea and the spin on traction. Why does it always have to be the guy that asks? If he would have said otherwise, I would have not been the one to propose. The last thing I want to do is make him uncomfortable. Before I proposed, I, jokingly, got permission from his mom. It was a really great experience. She was extremely excited and even joked that if I took him there was no giving him back. I love his family and am happy to be a part of it. Tomorrow is our engagement party where all our family will finally meet. I know we're both looking forward to getting everyone together. Now let's hope they all get along. TLDR. I was the one that proposed to her boyfriend Scott Pilgrim style. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to propose to my BF right now. We've been together 4 years and have lived together for 3. I'm pretty sure he's just waiting till he makes more money than I do, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. He's done plenty of engagement fake outs he thought were hilarious, though, and I'm really tired of waiting for him to get over the whole I'm the man mentality. He normally loves that I'm a really independent tomboy type girl, but I'm worried he'll be offended or something. I was blindsided by it after all of 5 months together and kind of just agreed to it. It wasn't anything special, however, just a casual question when I got home from work. Then she cheated on me and we both lived happily ever after. I did, at least. I have no issues with women doing it, but they should put just as much thought into it as we do. My current girlfriend is the traditional ask my dad first type, so I'm positive that I'll have to do it this time around. If you're certain that he's the one and know that he feels the same, why not? I was proposed to by my wife. She got on one knee and everything. I knew what time it was, so I grabbed her hand, pulled her close to me and muttered, "Yes, I will marry you, but I was going to ask you next week. I have the ring in our room." My wife proposed to me on a rock overlooking my favorite river. She gave me a handmade book of photos and memories of our time together. After looking through it together, she told me there was a hidden message. One letter on each page was bigger than the others. Put together they spelled out, "Will you marry me?" I said yes, obviously. We both cried a bit and then went and had a nice dinner together and called our families. Was it emasculating? Not in the slightest. Manhood is not defined by silly social conventions. It is defined by how well you know your own values and how well you live your life. I love her, so I was incredibly touched by her effort and bravery. We have wedding rings but no engagement rings. Instead of a pretty rock, we put our money toward a down payment on a house. Life is not a fairy tale. So many young people get caught up in the rituals and expectations of others, thinking those are the most important things. Getting married is a huge commitment and it is guaranteed to be hard work sometimes. The value of exactly how you got engaged will fade pretty quickly. My girlfriend has mentioned it. I told her she better not. Not because I think it's emasculating per se, but rather because I'm so looking forward to doing it myself. We're planning a skydiving trip, and I'm going to put up some cameras beforehand and make a bunch of cards. I'm going to propose and then immediately fling her out of an airplane. That sounds like such a fun way to be proposed to. I can only imagine what it would feel like to have to wait until I hit the ground to really answer. My sister-in-law proposed to my brother. They are both avid golfers, and when golfing one day my sister-in-law ran ahead a hole somehow. I think she had something worked out with the golf course owner and dropped a golf ball in the cup that had "Frank, will you marry me" written on it. He said yes. OFC. Cause he loved her. On a related note, I am amazed at the number of men in this thread who are too proud to have their girlfriends propose to them. I'm not downvoting the posts or anything, and they're certainly entitled to feel the way they feel. But it's still surprising to me that we live in 2012 and there are still guys out there who would decline marriage with the woman they love because the woman initiated instead of them. 2013. I proposed to my husband. We were laying in bed one night, and I rolled over and said we should get married, and he said yeah, and I said yeah, why not, so we did. I personally think each person should propose to their so. To me, proposals are just a formality. If you've gotten that far, you should know your so is going to say yes. Reading this thread is making me think that women should be the ones to propose. They're so good at planning and making it special and all that jazz. My buddy's girl, who he had dated for about 3 months, bought her own ring and started just telling people they were engaged. He had no idea this wasn't normal behavior since it was his first relationship since graduating high school. She was also his teacher his senior year. 2 months later she was committed. He is 17 and she is 25. Nobody could convince him that she's batshit crazy, even now. Man, a girl at my work did that, bought herself a ring and was planning her wedding, like actively booking caterers and picking out colors, and her boyfriend had no clue. Yeesh. I would hate it. I've been thinking about how I'll eventually propose to the women I want to marry for years. I'd hate to lose that. Women get the wedding. The proposal is the man's event. I'd like to be the star of the proposal. She can be the star of the wedding. That's just my opinion, of course. Maybe women get the wedding, but as a woman, I have never dreamed about a wedding. I can't even imagine planning a wedding without involving the other person. I just don't give a crap about 99% of the things. I think you are equally likely to come across a woman who is in either camp about the issue. About 15 minutes after some early morning sex, I was sitting on our couch in front of the computer with sunbeams streaming into our apartment. She ran into the room, knelt on the couch next to me, and proposed. She had a ring in a box that was simple, yet custom made for my tastes. Neither of us prescribed to traditional gender roles, and we both value intimacy and connection over pomp and showmanship. We had already talked about how both of us felt marriage was in our relationship's near future, and she knew that I wanted to be proposed to. It was perfect. To respond a bit more to the OP, what made you decide that you didn't want to wait is a false premise, suggesting that the default behavior of a woman is to wait for a man's proposal. Haven't been proposed to, but I'm definitely planning to within the next month or so. I'm all for equality, and I see no reason why women shouldn't propose, but if male privilege means that I get to be this excited and have this much fun proposing to my girlfriend, I am totally okay with that. My wife waited until I got out of basic training. As we walk through the door, I see a trail of rose petals and all these little construction paper hearts on the floor leading to the bedroom. I, knowing what it had to be but feigning ignorance, walked to the bedroom where she made this big poster thing on the bed that said, "Will you marry me?" Of course I said yes. Only after that did she tell me that all the little construction paper hearts had reasons why she wanted me to marry her on the back, and I was supposed to read them on the way in. I didn't find it emasculating, nor was I angry in any way. I thought it was sweet and heartfelt. Of course now we're getting a divorce, but that's neither here nor there. As a man, I would want my GF to just ask about marriage or the future and hint she wants to get married, but not full out propose to me. I want to do that. Agreed, sir. I want to see her get super happy and jump at me in happiness. Probably the greatest feeling. And how did you feel about it? Asking that never goes well. People downvote whoever is honest and says they wouldn't like it because they find it emasculating or whatever. So all you see is a thread full of people claiming they like it and that more women should do it, spreading forced misinformation. Except the top comment is that would be so emasculating. I suppose I asked my husband to marry me. We had been living together dating for several years. We were very much in love. A good friend of ours was getting married and was telling me about the paperwork etc. So I said casually to my husband, you know it's $40 and 24 hours to get a marriage license. He replied something to the effect of, really? That's not bad. And I said, we should get married. A week later we were married. Our 8th anniversary is in 2 months. We have a 4-year-old. I proposed to my then boyfriend when I was slightly drunk, when I was 18, in bed. We were engaged for a few months and broke it off the night before our engagement party and went right back to being boyfriend and girlfriend. Sometimes I am not a smart lady. Note to self, never ever propose again. Well, at least not while drunk. Scratch that, never again. Is it weird that I almost kind of want my girlfriend to propose? Like, I have no problem doing myself, but I think it would be adorable if she did. Witnessed this once. It makes me cringe whenever I think about it. I was working in a comedy club over the summer, usually full of stag and hen parties, not the most romantic place. Anyway, after the show the compere asks this couple to come on stage. So they come up and this woman gives it the whole I know we've not been together that long, I really love you, in front of a crowd of 200 people, most of them pretty drunk. All the way through her speech she's getting comments from the crowd like get on with it love and telling the guy to say no. It turns out they'd only been together 6 months. It was terrible. Anyway, they're both horribly embarrassed. She starts crying. He said yes, but all the staff had a strong feeling that he wasn't sincere. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.